All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you're seeing this video right now, you are getting the introduction to Animal Nutrition Lab Day 3. The way that this third day of animal nutrition takes place is you are now taking control as playing the role of a zookeeper, and you have to evaluate and plan diets for your 4 species that you have in your control. And the 4 species are the African lion, the Gravy's zebra, the Guinea baboon, and the African hedgehog. Okay, now with each of these, what this first table shows is a couple things. It shows the minimum macromolecule amount needed, and then the minimum daily amount required. So the minimum macromolecule amount is provided. There's nothing that you need to do here, and this is what's in green. So it shows proteins, fats, and carbs. Everything's in kilograms for each of the 4 species. You can see that the hedgehog has the tiniest amount, and the lion and zebra have the largest amount. Okay, and then over here, in the last column, it provides the minimum daily requirement in terms of poundage of food. So it gives you a range, the low end and the high end. Okay, for each of these 4. Now the first thing that you have to do is establish what the range would be in kilograms. Okay, and this is where our conversion factors comes into play. You can see that we have our pounds to kilogram conversion that we have going on right here with this first lion. You can see that they converted 12.13 pounds to kilograms and 14.96 pounds to kilograms. So what we're going to do is establish the range for the Gravy's zebra. Okay, so we're taking these values right here and converting them to kilograms. So we start with 15.4 pounds, and we drop pounds down to the lower end, the lower right of this T-chart, and up top goes kilograms. Okay, and we know our conversion factor is listed right here. So 1 pound is 0.454 kilograms. So that establishes the low end of our range. Now we have to figure out what the high end of the range would be in kilograms as well. It's the same setup. 18.7 pounds. Pounds goes on the lower right, kilograms goes in the top left. And you put in the same conversion factor. 1 pound is 0.454 kilograms. Now, we want to calculate this. So we're going to split screen and use our calculator. And we'd go 15.4 times 0.454 equals 6.99. And 18.7 times 0.454 equals 8.48, which we can round up to 8.49 based on the values we have there. So this is my new range. The low end is 6.99. The high end is 8.49. Okay. So then we would do the same for the African hedgehog and the Guinea baboon. So we do the same thing. We have our ranges provided right here. So for the baboon, we have 0.88 lbs and 1.4 0.43 pounds. Again, you're going to see it's very patterned here. So 0.88 times 0.454 equals 0.39952, which we could actually round up to 0.400. And then down below, 1.43 times 0.454 equals 6.49. Or 0.649. And then that now becomes a range here. All right, and then last but certainly not least is the African hedgehog. So we're going to calculate the range here using these two values provided in this last column. So really quickly, we have 0.33 lb and 0.044 lb. Pounds goes down here. Kilograms goes up top. And again, it's just simple math here. Just multiplying really easy numbers. 0.044 times 0.454. And this is 0.0199. All right, and then put this in your range. I'm going to move this up just to give myself a little bit more space. Okay. All right, so what we did on this first page is we established the range of total amount of food in kilograms that each species needs to eat. The minimum requirements of proteins, fats, and carbs is found all right in here for this column right there. Okay, now the next page, those questions you can answer on your own. The third page shows you all of the different animal and plant matter that you have on the menu to serve to your species. So you have in the meat column, you have deer, quail, rabbit, rat, mouse, toad, frog, superworms, waxworms. In the plant matter, you have alfalfa hay, orchard grass, cantaloupe, grapes, strawberries, dandelion greens, apples, and bananas. Okay, now maybe the most important part of this whole document is what's in this red box. The red box tells you step by step what you need to fill in to answer the last page. And the last page is the hardest part. Okay, it's going to tell you exactly where to get each thing, and everything is color coded. You can go back, you're going to need to grab values from this table, table 1. You're definitely going to need to grab values from this table, or these data sets, which is data set 3. And you use them to help answer all of these. Now, if you look at it, we start you off easy. The African lion has a lot of this stuff filled in. The zebra then takes a little bit away and relies more on you to fill in some of the stuff. The guinea baboon takes even more away. And then the last one, the African hedgehog, you have to come up with the diet yourself. Okay, so you have to come up with all the food items and make sure it meets all the minimum requirements. We're going to do the first one together, and then I'm going to turn you loose. Okay, if we look at the African lion, pretty much everything's filled in. Okay, we got these values, these portion size values from data set 3, as well as the percentages. The range that we got from right here, where did this value come from? This is what was calculated right here. Okay, that was the range that was calculated. Now that calculation was done for us, but for the other organisms, we're going to be looking at the values that we calculated. Okay. So percentages are all there, so let's look at protein here. So the first menu item is deer for the lion, and this is the African lion. And it's a 5 kilogram portion. 80% of that 5 kilograms, 80.7% of that 5 kilograms is protein. Here's how you do the calculation to figure out how much mass that is. Okay, I start with the portion size, which is 5.0, and I multiply that by the percentage, but the percentage has to be in decimal form, so I got to move this decimal over 2 jumps. So now this becomes, watch on the right, 0.807. And notice how that value now is 4.03. That is the mass that's the amount of the mass of protein within that 5 kilogram portion size. If we scroll over, now we're looking at the mass of the fat. Okay, notice how the percentage is much smaller. It's 6.3%. I have to do the same thing, though, to get this percentage to a decimal. I move this decimal over twice. 1, 2. But notice, in that second jump, there's no number, so I pretend like I have to put a 0 there. So now my percent, or my decimal of 6.3%, is actually 0.063%. And I multiply this value by the portion size, which is 5.0. And this represents how much fat, the mass of fat in this deer sample. Okay, now how much carbs is present in the deer sample? Well, it's 0%, which means that the mass is 0. And in fact, I can fill all of those in. Okay. We have to do the same thing now for the quail. So the quail, same process. The portion size is different. The percentages are different, but the process is still the same. So my percentage is 71.5. I have to convert that to a decimal form, so I move the decimal 2 jumps to the left. So now it becomes 0.715. And I multiply that by the portion size, which is 1.5. And I get 1.07. Okay? Now we look at the fat. This is a much more fatty organism. It's got 31.5% fat. So I do the same thing. I move the decimal 2 jumps over. 1, 2. And now this becomes 0.315. And I multiply that by the portion size, which is 1.5 for the quail. And I get 0.47. 0.473, we're going to say. Okay, I already know carbs are 0, so I don't have to do anything there. So we're going to go into the mouse. Now the mouse, very tiny. That's why the portion size is much smaller. Okay, take a look at what we got. The protein is 64.2, so that becomes 0.642. And I multiply that by the portion size, which is 0.03. And I get 0.0193. So that's my mass of protein from the mouse portion. 17% is fat. So 17% becomes 0.17, and I multiply that by the portion size, 0.03, and I get 0.0051. Okay, we have all of our data filled. So now what I got to do is find the total. So what total means is I'm adding things up. So for portion size, which is this column right here, I'm going to add up all of those. So 5.0 plus 1.5 plus 0.03. And I get 6.53. Now this number has to fall in the range between these two other numbers. Okay, which it does. 6.5 is in between 5.5 and 6.8. So this is good. This checks out. We can move on to the next part. I have to total the protein. So 4.03 plus 1.07 plus 0.0193 equals 5.12. Doing a little rounding. Okay, now, is this value greater than the protein listed? Yes. Oh, sorry, I forgot to fill this out too. This is a yes, it's within the range. But for this number, it just has to be greater than the minimum requirement, which it is by far. We look at fat. We add up the fat amounts, so 0.315 plus 0.473 plus 0.0051. And I get 0.7931. Is it greater than the minimum requirement? Yes, it is. I look at carbs. Carbs, I need 0 grams, and that's all I'm getting. So yes, I met the carbs. Even though I'm not technically over it, I didn't need any, I didn't get any, so we met the carbs amount. And last but not least, I have to total my total energy available from each of those meals. So I just add them up. So 10,880. And there you go. That's how you do it. Now when you get to the next table, it's not going to give you as much. And you might be wondering, well, where did we get all of those numbers from? Refer to this table right here. This is going to give you the game plan. Okay, you're going to work in your lab groups to get this done. You need to work together. You need to check each other's answers. It's going to take a little bit of time and practice, but I got faith that all of you can do this. Okay? Your homework is to complete all of the rest of the diets, all the way down to hedgehog, and then answer the analysis questions. That is your mission.